Hey y'all, my name is Molly Steen, and this is my portfolio presentation to showcase some of my favorite work. My focus has been on 2D and 3D animation, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface in these areas. I wanted to highlight two of my favorite projects I created that are animated. The first one is a 2D animated commercial for the company called which is a climbing company. I'm somewhat familiar with them because I've used their shoes for climbing before. I started this project researching them further and developing a creative brief about the company and the scope of the project. I wanted to focus on the unique style of Sewell's products. They're best known for their monochromatic and retro inspired climbing shoes. They also create unique climbing holds that come in monochromatic sets. Sewell is one of the first climbing brands that has redefined what being a climber means. Their focus is on the gym climber rather than the outdoor climber and how both are a valid form of the sport. I wanted the commercial to recreate that energy and excitement that climbing can bring. I used Photoshop to create my image assets and created storyboards to demonstrate what I wanted the commercial to look like. Then I used After Effects to begin blocking out and refining my animations. Throughout the project, I used an asset list and a task list I created to stay on track for each milestone and budget out enough time to finish the project. I wanted to highlight how the climbing holds themselves are pieces of art and can even be functional art when grouped together. Each climbing hold series has a variety of sizes and shapes that all have a specific color and motif. The focus of this animation was to capture the uniqueness of these functional pieces of art and sync it to the music that also captures the energy and empowerment of climbing. I even included my own footage of a friend climbing in So Ill shoes to demonstrate just how cool climbing is and how cool this brand is. The final project was a full commercial that captured these ideas, and it can be found on my portfolio website. The other animation project I included is an animation for an app mockup idea. Indigo Yoga School is a new 200-hour yoga teacher training program in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Currently, the curriculum is extremely expansive, and each module is printed for each student and put into a binder. There are also numerous supplemental materials that students are required to read and access. This app is a design solution to having so many materials in many different places. Students would be able to access all the modules, key learnings, pose breakdowns, Sanskrit, anatomy, meditation, and even have a notes section within the app. The idea is that students could use the app not only during their teacher training, but even after graduation as they begin their teaching journey. The project scope also include creating an updated brand identity for the school that included a new font, logo, color palette, and icons. I started this project by creating a design brief to capture the content, scope, and information for the school. Then I created a mood board to capture the colors and essence I wanted to create within the app. I wanted it to be light, airy, soft, and warm. Then I created a wireframe mockup for the animation assets for this project. After creating all my asset pages, I began to animate the app within After Effects. The animation portion just highlights the key features of the app, and it was a purely conceptual design, not a fully functioning app. The goal of this animation was to create an idea for a future app for the school. That final animation can also be found on my portfolio website. I then included a couple of my graphic design projects in my portfolio. The first project was to redesign a restaurant menu for La Santísima Taco Shop. I used InDesign for this project to demonstrate my abilities to organize and communicate mass amounts of text in an easy to read format. This project also included a design rebrand for the restaurant. I wanted to elevate a more modern and trendy brand identity since it's gourmet tacos. So I used the warm, darker green color to help create a deeper contrast with the white text. And then I used the accent of the green leaves to represent the lush jungles of Mexico since it's known for its authentic Mexican cuisine. My other graphic design project was a little bit more expansive. I created a whole conference collateral and rebranding for an annual conference called Event Apart. It is a premier web developer conference that offers a variety of workshops, lectures, and keynote speakers of leaders in the UI UX field. This project included a multi-page brochure of the conference itinerary and details, and it also included multiple name badge mock-ups, a table tent advertising one of the keynote speakers, and then an advertisement for the next conferences. I wanted to add a creative spin into these materials by adding textures, elements, and pops of color. This is a design conference focused on the latest developers and technology, so I wanted to give it a more modern twist on the design. I used assets and information I found on the Event Apart website and InDesign to create all the collateral materials. I also included some of my personal work, including my photography, my art, and a podcast I created a couple years ago. These other projects were school assignments, and I wanted to demonstrate a wider variety of skills and creativity instead of just a few school projects. I included my photography on my website to demonstrate my knowledge of using a camera, creating a composition, and post-processing techniques to create a mood. My photography has been mainly landscapes, nature, and portraits, but those skills can translate into framing other scenes. I've been a member of the 52 Frames community for a couple years, which is an online international photography group that has a weekly photo challenge. This group is just for fun, and some people are professionals and some are amateur photographers. But what I think is important about this group and my photography practice is the power of play. Creating intentional time each week to experiment, look at things differently, and frame your world in a new way, looking through a new lens. Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist, and he did a podcast about the science behind play and why it's so important in our lives to help us stay creative. While I might not be a professional photographer, it is a hobby that helps keep me creative and fuels much of the fine art I create. I even had the opportunity to interview Yosef Adest, who is the creator of 52 Frames, for my podcast. In season 1, episode 5 of our show, Yosef says that most people haven't played since kindergarten, and 52 Frames is a way for people to challenge themselves and explore new perspectives in a low-stakes environment. I'm always looking for ways to develop my creative practices, and photography is one of those pieces for me. I have also used much of my photography in the fine art I've created. I included this section on my portfolio because it has been a huge part of my life and my creative process for as long as I can remember. I've used art to explore my identity, my experiences, and how I process the world. I've participated in many art crawls, pop-up events, and even had my own art in a small gallery in 2016. I'm currently in the middle of a series of capturing different seasons and their colors, textures, and shapes, and creating double exposure pieces on top of the figures and portraits. My art process is part of my life philosophy about how we go through different seasons in life within ourselves and how each are necessary and important despite the discomfort we may feel in that particular season. I think my art opens a window into myself, and I wanted to show that piece of myself in my portfolio. It's also very different than some of my technical projects I make and demonstrates a wide variety of mediums and ideas. The last project I included in my portfolio was the podcast I created in 2021. I love the power of storytelling and how important it is for us to understand each other better and in turn, understanding ourselves better. I started thinking about why I have been with Starbucks for almost 13 years and realized it was the community for me and how important it is for everyone to find their own community. We crave human connection and need that sense of longing to feel whole and fulfilled. I kept thinking about all these different communities I'm in and the people who inspired me along the way. They don't have to be super famous people. I think it can be those ordinary people living life beside us that have some of the best advice and experiences to share. So we've done 2 full seasons with 23 episodes, and I have been the creator, editor, producer, marketing, and everything for this podcast. So I included it in my portfolio to demonstrate all those skills. While I don't have a ton of real life client design projects, I felt like all of these personal projects demonstrate my workflow, creativity, and originality that I can bring to any role. That mix of my leadership and management experience from Starbucks can also help me be adaptable and prepared for what my future career looks like. This has been a great course to compile all my work into one portfolio website, and I appreciate you listening and checking out my work. Best of luck to everyone.